Part 104. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1040. Latest website. Manager Lee is not very good at provocative words. Before coming, he prepared a draft to talk about the situation. The main event was led by Lu Feng from the stadium. Everyone got in the car and drove directly to the stadium. As the sun set, around 5 o'clock, the stadium with 10,000 people was already full. In the reception room of the stadium, hundreds of guests had already arrived. Many of them knew each other and were polite to each other. Sean looked at the time and then at the crowds of people outside. The host had already walked out and was doing some warm-up activities with a microphone. However, these guests were still here, and he had a bad feeling. "Go and ask the person in charge when we will be at the guest table," Sean asked the translator he brought with him. The translator went over to ask and came back, "Let's wait for the arrangements. Today's event is quite large and there are many people. Please bear with me if there is any inconvenience." Sean felt that it was not a question of whether to take care of him or not. According to his understanding of Lu Feng, he was afraid that he would make the best use of these people tonight. The dance in the center of the stadium had already begun. Hundreds of white girls were showing their long legs. The scene was very heated. As time passed by, as the girls dispersed on both sides, the host came up and said, "Dear Han bosses, I stand here tonight to pay high respect to the tens of thousands of GFN agent bosses. This event of tens of thousands of people is to hope that everyone will understand GFN, enter GFN, integrate into GFN, and be able to stand. It is my honor to meet you all here. Recently, GFN has experienced a lot of things. Only in times of adversity can we see true love. Those who can sit here, I believe that it will not be long before they become the next billionaires. It has not been easy for GFN to go all the way. Everyone also underestimates life. When we met GFN, we supported each other, achieved each other's achievements, and overcame all difficulties to achieve what we are today. On this journey, there are not only the help of brothers and sisters present, but also many unknown supporters behind the scenes. Next, we would like to thank the friends who have always supported GFN. Let us invite them to leave in a song of thanks. Go to the guest seats." As a piece of thank you music played, the first person to come out was a congressman. The host said into the microphone, "Senate, Mr. David. Executive Chairman of Schroeder Investment Group, Mr. John. Famous European business investment consultant, Mr. Sean." Many agents present opened their eyes wide when they heard the names of these big guys. These are not ordinary people, but top-notch people from all walks of life. For them, they cannot see them in daily life. Big shots, these big shots are also supporting GFN Group. Everyone who came out looked unhappy. They originally thought they would just sit in the guest seats and watch the fun, but they didn't expect that Lu Feng would pull him out to endorse GFN Group. What was even more embarrassing was that the girls who had just danced stood in 2 rows and danced a dance of thanks to the people who came over. Sean felt that he could hardly breathe with embarrassment. John hurried over and found his seat, cursing in his mouth. "I knew it was like this. He wanted me to express my willingness to kill GFN in front of everyone present." Sean glanced at the translator standing behind him and said after listening, "He is this kind of person, I have seen through it a long time ago." On a suburban helipad dozens of kilometers away from the stadium, a medium-sized helicopter was ready to take off at any time. The staff on the side came over and said to the elegantly dressed Lu Feng, "Mr. Lu, we have received the order, take off now." "Good." Lu Feng stood up, straightened his suit, walked out, boarded the helicopter, and immediately flew towards the stadium. Sitting on the plane, he watched the last golden rays of the setting sun being swallowed up bit by the mountains, and the whole city of London fell into in the bright lights. The stadium was brightly lit, and hundreds of guests walked out like a catwalk. Most of the people present were shocked by the power behind GFN, from government agencies, banks, business giants, insurance giants to regulators. The system, association presidents, and various so-called artists are all there. It seems that the entire society's top management has a very close relationship with GFN. Some people dislike him while others like him. Some council members even took the initiative to greet the agents, expressing their willingness to support GFN and hoping that everyone would support them. The guest seats with hundreds of people were already full. Lu Feng's helicopter was also hanging 2 kilometers away from the stadium. The host heard the instructions in the earphones and said into the microphone, "All the guests have already taken their seats. I believe tonight everyone knows that there is a person who will come. He has changed the fate of countless poor people and made the dream of wealth no longer a dream. I hear someone is already calling his name. Come. Let us call out his name. Believe me, as long as if you believe in GFN's power, then he will definitely come to you. Lu Feng." The sound at the scene was deafening. "Clap your hands and let him hear our yearning for a better life." A powerful DJ sounded at the scene, and thousands of people in the audience clapped their hands in unison and shouted Lu Feng's name. The people sitting in the guest seats had never seen such a scene before, and they were so scared that they were at a loss. Sean looked at the crowds of people in the distance opposite him. The wave of applause frightened him. What kind of appeal was this? It is definitely comparable to the demon cult at this moment. This is not a living room with hundreds of people, but with tens of thousands of people capable of organizing and mobilizing. The fanatical atmosphere at the scene is very frightening. Some congressmen who don't know GFN very well were also shocked by this scene. If their appearance just now was to show the agents the backers behind GFN, then now they are showing these guests the ability of GFN, letting them see how powerful they are in organizing and mobilizing. The two can be traded. GFN just holds the key in the middle. Amidst the applause, a helicopter flew over. The huge headlights on the helicopter illuminated the scene. Lu Feng reached out to open the door of the aircraft, but was grabbed by the security personnel next to him and said, "Danger. Open the plane door, I have a safety belt, don't worry. It's dangerous. I need to show myself." "Open it," Lu Feng shouted at him. The door of the plane was opened, and the strong wind driven by the propeller blew in. Lu Feng stood up and waved to everyone present. He tried his best to show his strength, making himself seem to be standing in the air. There is no difference between humans and animals. For opponents who are taller than themselves, they will choose to surrender in the inner world. As long as the opponent needs to raise his head to look at you, then there will be psychological hints in the heart. Long-term psychological hints will bring about a psychology of obedience. Which is why leaders should speak from a high position. As the helicopter landed, fireworks were set off at the scene. Lu Feng jumped out of the hatch, straightened his hair and suit and waved around. There were endless cheers from the scene. The host handed the microphone to Lu Feng and said, "Then leave it to Mr. Lu." "Dear brothers and sisters, how are you?" Lu Feng took the microphone and asked everyone. Various replies rang out at the scene. Lu Feng looked around with emotion and continued, "It's great to see you. I believe everyone has also felt that it was not easy in the past period, and I was actually suffering even more. Seeing your smiles at this moment makes everything worth it. I have actually wanted to organize this event for tens of thousands of people for a long time, just for the sake of honesty. I am open to my brothers and sisters. I believe that everyone will encounter something when they promote and introduce us to customers. Overcoming the incomprehension of others, even the incomprehension of relatives. This time, I just want to show everyone what kind of company GFN is. I am a very kind person, and I have always believed that kindness can be exchanged for kindness. However, capital is bloody. I climbed up from the bottom and defeated. I have invested countless capital, and my biggest dream is to make life better for my friends who have many similarities to me. We are growing very fast. Only 10,000 people came today. If they all came, even 10 such stadiums would not be able to fit in. Many people outside have slandered us, calling us liars, falsely accusing me of rape, and criticizing my character. Very bad. If I have a very bad character and there are so many of my friends at the guest table, will they believe me? If GFN is a liar, he can deceive a few people, or even hundreds of people, but how can he deceive tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of people? Only sincerity is the reason why so many people believe in GFN. Brothers and sisters, do you want to believe me? Willing. I love you. I'm willing to die for you. Various sounds rang out at the scene. Lu Feng's eyes turned red and he bowed frequently to the 4 types of people present. Unfortunately, the scene was too big and there was no large display screen. Many people could not see the details on his face. Lu Feng picked up the phone and choked up, I don't have any grievances at this moment. Really, these days I feel that I have been insulted by the whole world. My family called me and asked me to go back and do it here. What are you doing? It's not profitable, and I'm not short of money. Now I'm being slandered by these people, and I'm even at risk of going to jail. Threatening phone calls come one after another, and someone is paying to kill me. I can't back down, I can just leave. What about you? I'm here for you. I'm not afraid of death. It doesn't matter what others say. What I'm most afraid of is that you believe those words. Your distrust is what I fear the most. It's a sad thing, thank you all. Some people at the scene were moved to tears, and even the young man had red eyes at this moment. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1041. Latest website. Lu Feng's emotions were basically aroused when he saw the scene. He took a deep breath, picked up the microphone and continued, there are still many difficulties we will face, because what we are going to take will be an unprecedented road. On the new journey, it will definitely affect the interests of other people. The resources in this world are limited. Why are you poor? I always thought it was because I didn't work hard enough. It wasn't until I became rich that I realized that you are poor because they are rich. This is how the world is. If you eat more, they will have to one less bite to eat. So many capitalists united. Beko couldn't bear it any longer, and Steven jumped up and down in the major media. I got the latest news today. Walmart, Carrefour, and a lot of terminal retailers will file lawsuits against GFN. They feel threatened by GFN, and they are afraid of you. My dear brothers and sisters, if you go alone to negotiate with these big companies, I believe they won't take you seriously. But when we unite, we can create huge miracles. You are not much worse than them, and there is no so-called poor mentality. It is because everyone is not united enough, and it is because these people have better resource advantages. What does GFN do? GFN is to help everyone move towards a better life, help every poor person, and resist the squeeze of capital. Whether it is Walmart or any other company later, I will resist all the pressure. I also know that it's been a very difficult time, so the company's few profits have been distributed directly to everyone in the past few days. Even if my company does not make money, it must not treat my brothers and sisters badly. This is my original intention of founding GFN. I will never forget it. However, this period still makes everyone very difficult. I only represent myself to give everyone apologizes. After Lu Feng finished speaking, he knelt down on one knee, as if he was ready to kneel down to apologize. Everyone on the stage stood up and looked at Lu Feng kneeling down on one knee. This kneeling definitely penetrated the audience. The psychological defense line of everyone present. Manager Li rushed out, stretched out his hand to pull Lu Feng up, and said to Lu Feng in English, Mr. Lu, what are you doing? Get up. The topic in Lu Feng's hand accidentally came close to Manager Li's lips, and his voice could be heard by the whole audience. No. Don't pull me. I'm sorry for everyone. I know that everyone's lives have been affected by me during this period. I feel really guilty in my heart. This kneeling is my apology to my brothers and sisters. Don't pull me. Now I order you to return to your position, Lu Feng shouted hysterically at Manager Li. Don't let him kneel, he has not sorry for us, someone in the front row shouted with a cry. The scene was instantly detonated by these words. Everyone shouted to prevent Lu Feng from kneeling down. He brought income to everyone at the scene. It was because of the suppression of those companies, which suppressed Lu Feng, who was kind, honest, simple, and liked to help the weak. There are too many evil people in this world, but now they want a person like Lu Feng to kneel down and apologize. Their conscience cannot accept this fact. Get out of the way, Lu Feng roared at Manager Li and pushed him away. Then he knelt down on one knee and apologized to everyone around the scene. Lu Feng stood up and looked at everyone present and said, "Brothers and sisters, we are going through the darkest moment, and the future may be even more difficult, but I promise you here that as long as Jia Feng is alive, you will always be mine." Brothers and sisters, I have been particularly touched by many brothers and sisters recently who rose to the challenge and created miracles in the most difficult of times. Next, let me introduce someone to you, Louise, a divorced woman with children. Her life is very difficult and has reached the point where she is unsustainable. She also happens to be Jia Feng's first time here. The first batch of agents. We were still very weak at that time. I went to the streets to hand out leaflets, and she was the first person I handed them to. I still remember her pushing a small cart with children on it, and there were only a small amount of discounted vegetables in it. When I handed her the flyer, she dodged a little, looked up at me and said, "I can't afford it." At that time, my heart was like a knife. Really, before coming here, I thought there wouldn't be many people struggling under the poverty line in developed countries. However, it was such a single mother who showed poverty in front of me. I was secretly thinking in my heart, luckily I'm here, how desperate would she be without Jia Feng? She took the flyer from my hand and didn't trust Jia Feng. I had to tell her that there would be free gifts for her to receive. Like everyone present, she would never have imagined that a miracle would happen at that time. I would never have imagined that such earth-shaking changes would happen to her in just a few months. I am still the same me, living with my employees, eating the same meals, living in the same dormitory, handing out leaflets together, and helping more people. She has changed and her life has begun to get better. Next, let us warmly a round of applause to welcome the successful person in the big family, Mr. Louise. There was applause at the scene, and many people on the stage stared at Louise, who came out with lights in their eyes, as if they would become that person in the next second. Louise's story has been spread among the major teams today for a long time. Several congressmen in the front row were a little shocked when they saw Lu Feng's busy work for the past hour, and whispered to the people next to him, "This person is too inflammatory and has a great talent for speaking. If such a person becomes a member of parliament or runs for election, I'm afraid it will be even more terrifying." Sean knew that Lu Feng was very talented in arousing people's emotions, but the method of kneeling down to apologize still shocked him. In the hearts of the 10,000 people present, Lu Feng seemed to be a pure and flawless image. All conflicts are aimed at companies like Walmart. If something happens again, these people will never blame Jia Feng, but will point the finger at outside companies. With this mouth alone, I believe Lu will always earn enough profits for Schroeder Group, Sean whispered to John next to him. Investment belongs to the investor. We also valued his personal ability at the beginning, John replied. Everyone in the guest seats was whispering, and Louise, who was in the audience, walked towards the center of the venue dressed elegantly. When she saw Lu Feng, she seemed particularly excited. She took the microphone and said, "We meet again, Mr. Lu." "Yes, but this time it's not at the entrance of a discount supermarket. I'm really happy to see you like this. Where is the child? Lu Feng asked. The nanny is taking care of me at home, Louise said with a smile. Everything is getting better. I believe you will get better and better. Next, you can share with everyone what happened in the few months after you met me at the door of the discount supermarket. What happened in Jiafeng's store? In the family, how have you turned around and what efforts have you put in? Lu Feng said and stepped aside. Louise held the microphone with both hands, and was really filled with emotion at this moment. She slowly told about her divorce from her ex-husband, her life with her children, until she met Lu Feng, and from the beginning to her neighbors, family, her friends peddled it, but eventually everyone around her bought it, and her career hit a bottleneck. But she didn't give up. Unlike other people in the team who complained, she felt that Jiafeng had created too much for herself, so she started to go out and take the initiative to meet new friends and let more people know Jiafeng. Finally one day her persistence impressed one person, and he explosively sold thousands of sets of products this month. This is my story. Lu Feng picked up the topic and said, I believe everyone has the same experience, so let me tell you how much money you can make this month. I calculated it myself, it's £880,000, Louise said excitedly. It stands to reason that the money will be settled for everyone at the beginning of next month, but I want to get a big one. Now, £880,000 have been settled. I also hope that Boss Louise will continue to work hard to let more friends know Jiafeng. Lu Feng said in the direction of the resting place, come. A small cart drove out, with piles of cash stacked high and tied with ribbons. Under the focus of the lights, the cart looked particularly dazzling, and all the eyes of the audience were focused on it. Take away the 880,000 yuan in cash. Can you try to get it? Louise rushed over and yelled excitedly when she saw so much cash. Her defense was really broken at this moment. Nothing could bring such a big impact to a poor person. Help her find a bag. Staff will be sent to guard her throughout the process. They will help you make a VIP reservation at the bank. You can deposit it in after the event, Lu Feng waved to the staff. The staff brought over a transparent plastic bag, and Louise held the money and put it into the bag. The scene excited everyone, until the whole bag was filled, and Louise barely had the strength to lift it up and walk to her seat. Then I'd like to invite the second person, a gentleman named Mark. Mark stood up from his seat excitedly and ran straight into the venue. He took off his coat and waved it over his head. He kept yelling. He took the phone and shouted, I don't have to go to work anymore. I don't have to go to work anymore. Look at the face of my bullshit boss. Just a week ago, he asked me to go to his office and wanted to scold me, but I punched him and I quit. Now many people are obviously stimulated by his words, and they are shouting and supporting. I want to break the news to everyone here, that is, companies like Beko and Siemens have been monitoring Jiafeng. They are afraid of Jiafeng. Why do I dare to say such things? Because before this, I was doing this part-time. Sneaking into Jiafeng's event site, collecting information on the site and reporting it, he earned dozens of pounds from each order. Mark told the truth without hesitation. As soon as these words appeared, the scene was completely blown up. Even Lu Feng didn't know about this matter. He asked in disbelief, is it true? I can assure you that this matter is absolutely true. Capital is strangling us, so we must unite. I have completely quit working now. I have even quit my official job. I can only work in the big family of Jiafeng. Only in this way can I feel warm. Not only do I feel resentful when I work outside, but the struggle in the office is even more unpleasant. I only earn £500 a month, but I feel like I am competing for the power of the earth. I'm fed up. There were cheers and whistles. Latest website. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1042. Latest website. Mark's revelations became more and more intense. He told about how he had worked part-time for some companies to obtain information about rival companies. Finally, under the influence of Lu Feng, he joined Jiafeng. This month, he has achieved an outstanding increase in performance. Sold more than 900 sets of products this month. Another small truck drove out, and Mark put more than 700,000 cash in a transparent plastic bag, put it on his shoulder and waved to everyone, and then returned to his seat. Mark's appearance has made many people more convinced that companies like Beko and Siemens are targeting Jiafeng, not to mention that every person who gets money will definitely become the most eye-catching existence within a few dozen meters when they return to their position. 10 people were carefully selected from 8 large teams. Because the team often holds activities and has become acquaintances with each other, such cases are more real within the team and happen around them. One after another, people walked to the center of the stage and told their stories under the spotlight. Some people shouted excitedly, and some thanked many people. The atmosphere of the scene was pushed to its peak. 2 hours passed very quickly. 10 people and nearly 8 million in cash. The 10 of them had a similar experience, that is, after draining the relatives and friends around them, they began to go to the streets and meet new friends. Actively explore new customers. This is also the pain point of the 10,000 people present. They have basically deceived everyone around them. If they can't find new sales targets, they have no choice but to leave. The actions of these 10 people opened up the minds of many people present. They can go out and meet new friends. If they maintain a normal salary, there is no need to put in such a big effort, but if they can achieve an income of 1.8 million, you can lie flat on the back. Meet new friends, expand new connections, and even bring new friends to our activities to let them know more about Jiafeng. These are all new methods given by 10 outstanding brothers and sisters, not to mention you are doing a good job things and bring them health, peace, and happiness. After more than a month, Lu Feng once again bundled Jiafeng's products with health. Brothers and sisters, we are walking on the right path of sunshine. The road to success will not be easy, but as long as we persevere, we can see the rainbow after the rain. Not everyone in this world can see success. Fools will fool themselves. When you meet people who don't understand you, people who don't understand Jiafeng, or even people who insult and attack you, don't be afraid, let alone be confused, come back to this warm family. To be honest, I am a little disappointed in this event of 10,000 people, because only 10 friends have escaped poverty. I feel very shortchanged. I hope that in the next event of 10,000 people, there will be 100 people standing here, or even 1,000 people. With 10,000 people, we want every brother and sister to live in the city, hire a nanny, and drive a Porsche. For the next event of 10,000 people, I will go to Bali, the Maldives, and the most beautiful place in the world. Time flies so fast. This night is destined to be remembered by everyone, because after tonight, more lucky people will emerge among the people present. As long as you are good, no matter how much I do, it will be worth it. Jiafeng will follow. I have to face a lot of pressure, and what I have to face may be life or death, but it doesn't matter, I will always stand with you. As the words fell, the helicopter flew over and landed slowly. Lu Feng climbed onto the railing of the helicopter and waved goodbye to everyone present. Fireworks rose above the stadium, and Lu Feng completed his exit amid the gorgeous fireworks. The host walked onto the stage and began to guide everyone to leave in an orderly manner. The hundreds of people in the guest seats looked at each other and felt lonely. Not to mention that Lu Feng didn't even say hello. He sat here all night and listened to his nonsense. Light. Louise walked out of the stadium. The money was held by the staff. She looked around, her eyes locked on a bald head, and she ran towards him. In full view of the public, the two hugged each other tightly. The two buddies standing next to the bald man were dumbfounded. Didn't they say that the work was done? Why are you still hugging me? Why did you even kiss? Louise looked at the man in front of her and said affectionately, I feel like I can't live without you. Let's get married. I love you. I love you too. The bald man hugged Louise tighter. The two registered their marriage a month later. 3 months later, Louise discovered that he was not a rich man living in a wealthy villa area. The two began to quarrel, and they divorced 5 months later. Of course, these are their stories. The event held by thousands of people was quite successful, which gave the originally sluggish agents a shot in the arm. Early the next morning, a large number of agents began to head towards wealthy areas, or simply set up their own stalls to sell. GFN's activities have been fully restarted, and all reserve lecturers have taken the stage. There are hundreds of activities on the same day throughout France, and more than 32,000 new agents have been added in a single day. More than 20,000 sets of products were purchased by new agents, and the net profit exceeded £10 million. At 12 o'clock at noon, Lu Feng looked at the estimated data in his hand with a smile on his face. Manager Li looked particularly excited and said to Lu Feng, the main reason is that all lecturers have been let go, and the recruitment of agents in other provinces is very efficient. The enthusiasm of the previous agents has increased a lot, and at this rate, the number will exceed 100,000 tomorrow. 100,000 people, a single day profit of 10 million to 20 million pounds. At this rate, the UK can last us 2 to 3 months at most, which is a profit of 1 billion to 2 billion pounds. With this money, it would be good if you take half of it, but in the future as more and more people become more and more people, it will become a burden. Lu Feng lit a cigarette and thought for a while. I will inform you that all those whose personal income exceeds £30,000 must, if the loan is to be repaid more than 70% or more than £50,000, the loan must be repaid. Are you afraid that too many loans will put pressure on the bank? Manager Li asked. I'm afraid that we are too full to move when we want to leave. Leaving a mess is not a good thing for the bank, Lu Feng said to Manager Li. On the grounds of overseas investment branches, we will start transferring funds from this month, exchange them into US dollars and go overseas in batches. Remember, if you become an overseas related enterprise, the approval will be faster. Also, pay attention to Harry and Breeze. As soon as they cough, report it to the foundation immediately. Deposit a sum of money into your account. How much is the sum? Manager Li asked. 10 million levels. If you nuzzle a little, the company will invest 10 million in it. Manager Li felt that even if he was burning money, he wouldn't be burning it so quickly, so he asked, is it too much? If you don't bow to the Bodhisattva crossing the bridge, who are you to worship? The money in your pocket is money, otherwise it is just a string of numbers, not to mention it is still in someone else's basin, and you can give it to you for any reason. This money it doesn't necessarily belong to someone, Lu Feng said to him. When I announce these figures to the public today, I want to show the bosses in London that I am not someone to be trifled with. As soon as the news was announced, the entire business community was in a state of shock. The profit in a single day was tens of millions, which was more profitable than 99% of the companies in London. It is not an exaggeration to say that money is being made every day. Such terrifying earning power left many bosses dumbfounded. After Stephen saw the set of data, he yelled angrily. Compared to Lu Feng's company, his current company was simply garbage. The ability to attract agents is poor, and the products overlap with those of GFN, making them uncompetitive. After almost a week of hard work, there are only a few thousand agents. These people feel that it is not profitable, and a large number of people leave every day. For ordinary poor people, no matter how much they can brag, it is not as practical as making money. At the very least, they have to be fed and drunk. GFN is letting them eat and drink well. Listening to Lu Feng's bragging is completely different, let alone GFN. Peak has already formed a scale. Once it forms a scale in the market, there will be a siphon effect, and other people will consciously move closer to the larger group. Stephen has been in business for many years and is very familiar with the current market situation. His company no longer has any advantages. The more he invests in the future, the more he will have no way out. With a long sigh, Stephen looked listless, threw the folder in front of him on the ground, and said to himself, "Forget it, accept the apology." At around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Stephen announced the disbandment of the company and the dismissal of all employees. The core team members who had been poached from GFN were confused. The company was gone even before he took the senior management position in Rihu. Walmart and Carrefour couldn't believe it when they saw GFN's single-day profit, and even suspected it was fake. After confirming it through various channels that it was true, they became even more angry, thinking that GFN had robbed them of their profits. In the evening, the two companies jointly sued GFN, and GFN's law firm also responded to the lawsuit. For a whole day, most of the London business community was discussing GFN, and it was a hot topic. Invitations to various dinner parties came like a flood. No matter which country you are in, as long as you have money, those who once looked down on you will lower their heads to win over you. They don't even care how you got your money. As night fell, GFN's single-day profit not only stimulated the London business community, but also stimulated Wall Street thousands of miles away. After the phone call between Siemens president and Lambert, the two sides finally reached a verbal agreement after almost a month of pulling and pulling. Proceed as previously agreed. Many companies in Fuzhou have carried out chip technology exchanges with Siemens to learn from each other's experiences. What Siemens wants to do is to intercept and suppress GFN's development throughout Europe, promote relevant industry legislation, and completely kill GFN's model. Lose. In this year, Nokia has developed completely and swept across the European market. As Emil, who opened up the Chinese market, has become the vice president of the group. After being transferred back from the Chinese market, he is mainly responsible for the European market area, this time mainly targeting the UK market. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1043. Latest website. A week has passed in the blink of an eye, and GFN's high-speed profits are still continuing. Not only are sales increasing sharply, but the number of agents has doubled. Several retailers such as Walmart and Carrefour are engaged in a bitter fight with GFN in court. It is well known in the industry that Lu Feng twice injected £18 million into the foundation in 1 week. The money to open the way must be spent. Yes, you must not pick it. 3 days ago, Siemens Group proposed an initiative to improve European standards for home appliances, including detailed standards for circuit design, displays, and materials. The biggest point of this proposed standard is that it is just a little higher than GFN's products. As soon as the news came out, the entire industry was in a state of excitement. No one could believe that the aloof Siemens would suppress GFN. Compared with Beko's methods, Siemens's methods were simply dimensionality reduction. As long as the standard was adopted, even if however, after the approval of the guiding documents, it is even more difficult for any GFN products to enter the customs of EU countries. Big companies behave like big companies. In just 3 days, some members have submitted relevant bills. The capital behind them has begun to work hard to lobby more members to build momentum and promote the preliminary approval of the bill. Many retailers such as Carrefour and Walmart also joined in. The calls for eliminating the old standards in a short period of time became louder and louder, as if they represented public opinion. Then lackey experts from various capitals began to appear on TV programs, like ordinary people. People elaborated on the benefits of new standards for home appliances and the serious consequences of not raising standards. If George is a small businessman who is good at playing with business methods, then Herman of Siemens is definitely an entrepreneur who is good at manipulating social rules. One wave after another, GFN was expanding crazily amidst the storm. At the same time, GFN branches in Italy and the Netherlands began to be established. Lu Feng mentioned the need to fight quickly in his recent internal speech more than once. Quick decision. In 1995, the mobile phone industry developed rapidly in Europe. Nokia crazily occupied the market. Ericsson, also a European brand, developed equally rapidly. The two parties fought fiercely in the European market, lowering prices again and again, and they were already a bit angry. Siemens has just started, mainly participating in the mobile phone industry as a parts supplier. The group also attaches great importance to the communications industry. At the GFN branch headquarters, all the people in the building were foreigners. Manager Li came to see Lu Feng several times this week. Most of the more than 100 people who walked out wanted to come back, but unfortunately they were gone. Lu Feng did not agree to their position. As for Li Ziasi, Lu Feng only heard that he was hanging out with Huang Mao and Gao Baiqiang, and there was no news about the rest. There are too many people in this world who lose contact just by walking around, let alone a person with whom Lu Feng's future with people who were completely opposite to each other was just a chance encounter at a critical point in his life. Last time, Lu Feng felt sorry for the female teacher who took the train to work in the city but was dragged into the water by her cousin. Now he is much less optimistic about Li Ziasi. Human beings are lives. They are carried by the huge waves of the times. Personal choice is the choice of the times. The one who is so fragile in front of me seems to have no choice. In the office, 3 folders were placed on Lu Feng's desk. Manager Li and 6 senior executives stood opposite. This week was definitely a bumper harvest for GFN. The number of agents has exceeded 350,000, and the average daily profit this week has exceeded £10 million. The data is very good. The non-performing loans are a bit high and will continue to decline. Let those agents who have made money be the first to. If they don't repay the loan, they will forcibly deduct it from the payment. Lu Feng closed a folder and said, starting from this week, increase the density of activities. If there are too many people, it will be difficult to manage. We need to organize them to carry out more activities. Don't be idle. We should provide more courses for those with poor performance, something like that. There have been too many products sold in the past week, and the shipment volume has been large. Among them, quality problems have been strongly responded to. We do not have an after-sales department, so many agents have accumulated a lot of problems, and there have even been many fights over this matter. Manager Li reflected. No matter, if we delay this kind of thing and let them wait, just say that the goods are tight or the refund process is relatively long. The most important thing for us now is to increase agents and increase income. Lu Feng looked at the few papers in his hand. He opened a folder and said, from now on, every agent who just joins must purchase a set of products. This is a hard target, you know. I have told you a lot about recent things in the company. With more and more people, this high growth must be unsustainable. When the stock reaches its peak, that is the beginning of collapse. Lu Feng understands this truth very well, so he must cut all the leaks you can before the avalanche. Okay, Manager Li nodded, pondered for a while and said, how should we deal with Siemens? You don't need to worry about these things. Just take care of the following. Go and do your work. Lu Feng signaled that they could go out. By the way, there are a lot of invitations to the dinner party today, and some of them are very important. Mr. Shan said that he hopes you will attend, Manager Li said before leaving. I see. After lunch, several invitations were placed on Lu Feng's desk. One of them was sent by John. It was still led by the Schroeder Group. The last time it was a football theme, this time it was a technology theme. The phone on the table suddenly rang. Lu Feng answered the phone and said, "Who is this?" "It's me, John." John's voice rang on the other end of the phone. "You'd better attend the dinner tonight. The CEO of Siemens will be here. I invited you, and I hope you can get in touch with him as soon as possible. Don't let the strong smell of gunpowder inside. Jiafeng's current profit situation is very good. According to the current profit, it is no problem to distribute a bonus at the end of the year. As long as you do a good job, and a private jet is a small thing, the board of directors is still willing to give you this little money." Flowers. Lu Feng raised his eyebrows when he heard this and said, "You don't think such a high-profit business can last until the end of this year, do you?" "Why not? After you finish your work in the UK, go to other countries. There are so many countries in the world. As long as the model is mature, it can be developed in 2 or 3 months. The profit model is very stable." There was a hint of excitement in John's voice on the other end of the phone. Stocks are happy. Now John is extremely sure of Lu Feng's money-making ability, even a bit superior. He sometimes fantasizes about making tens of billions of dollars by the end of the year according to this model. When the time comes, he will get back the principal of the investment group for every dividend, and he will no need to be so stressed. John is a veteran with decades of investment experience. He would have never dared to imagine such a fantasy in the past, but Lu Feng's performance surprised him. This leak-cutting model was so mature that he started to wishful thinking. Lu Feng almost laughed out loud when he heard this. Even if he made money, he would invest in research and development. As for dividends, except for the management's annual dividend, he has never paid a dividend once. What do people at Siemens want to talk to me about? Or what do I have to talk about with him? The home appliance industry accounts for less than 5% of Siemens's total. I don't believe that they want to engage me in such a big way. I don't believe it's just for this. I don't believe that money can be negotiated just by meeting. Lu Feng said to the phone, "Since the board of directors is willing to buy me an airplane, let's go through it quickly. Ordering an airplane is also very slow, so I really can't buy a second-hand one. Also, you don't have to worry about private jets. As long as the business is stable, I will introduce you tonight. Anyway, let's sit down and talk." John is obviously very concerned about this matter, and the profits involved are huge. Not only him, but even the Schroders Group attaches great importance to this money. If Lu Feng can stably cut leaks around the world, it will be a money-making machine. It won't take long. Under the cover of major stakeholders, this kind of income can continue to make people's eyes red for a year or two. "Okay," Lu Feng reluctantly agreed. In a luxurious office, Almi looked a little cold in a gray suit. The small waistband on the suit outlined her figure, making her look somewhat charming. In this year, Almi has become a gorgeous flower in the European business world. No matter what event she attends, she is definitely the focus of the live shots. Her exquisite facial features, golden hair, tall stature, and, the pursuer geometry. The outside world even touted her as a perfect combination of beauty and ability, but little did they know that Nokia's excellent product strength was behind it. "Don't tell me about difficulties. I don't want to hear about your difficulties. Add more channels and cooperate with more local dealers and retailers in the short term to completely open the market. We must first achieve profitability and use local profits to lay local roads. Do you understand the sales channels?" Almi stared at the group of executives in front of him and scolded. The manager standing in front looked embarrassed and said, "But the cooperation prices offered by these dealers are too high. Our price competition in the terminal market cannot be compared with Ericsson." "Then find a way. Why don't you push the problem to me? Did the headquarters send me down here to listen to you talk about the problem?" Almi was particularly angry. The group of people in front of her could do nothing but push the problem to her. There are no cheap distributors like Jiafeng in the British market, the terminal prices are too high and uncompetitive, the brand is not considered good locally, and the headquarters is unwilling to go invest more money. In such a predicament, it will be useless for anyone to come. Why don't we open up franchisees? A white man in the front row suggested. It's free to join. We can promise some blank checks, such as rebates after the sales reach a certain amount. This will stimulate some social funds to join in and help we sell. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1044. Latest website. Almi opened up the Chinese market without spending much money, which made the group's board of directors feel that she had extraordinary abilities. The British market was in a state of anxiety. She was sent here because she wanted to do big things with a small amount of money. After everyone discussed it, it seemed that this plan was the most effective, but the problem was that it was also risky. Let's do market research first, and then we'll discuss this plan. Almi looked a little irritated and stood up and said, by the way, remember to apply for a high-end dinner for me recently. We need to expand our network and get to know more related companies. At the same time, spend some money to find a consulting company to help us do some sales channel design. Several people in charge hurriedly agreed. The beautiful CEO who landed from the headquarters seemed to have little ability. Originally, they thought they could bring a large sum of money from the headquarters, but now there is no chance. At least this guy is good looking and doesn't feel so unhappy when he gets scolded, a man in his 30s whispered. Didn't you see that you were acting perverted? The colleague next to him muttered in a low voice. The atmosphere at the scene relaxed a little, and everyone had smiles on their faces. In the evening, Jiafeng had several brand new Audi cars parked downstairs. With the huge profits in the past few days and the competition between various forces, the tax department kept a close eye on Jiafeng. He had to spend money anyway, so he simply started to buy some belongings. As if he was going to set up camp here. Lu Feng also hired a team of bodyguards. The setting sun shone on the tall office building. Under the protection of a group of bodyguards, Lu Feng stepped out and got into the car. He ordered to manager Li next to him, tonight, you will give other countries call the branch and tell them to go ahead and get started. Also, ask the group headquarters audit team to send a team to Europe to start inspections of several branches. Okay, I will report it to the headquarters. After speaking, manager Li gently closed the car door. A kind of bodyguard got into the car, and the motorcade slowly sped towards the suburban manor. Lu Feng's current style was comparable to that of London's top business tycoons. Before, Lu Feng thought that he could do this quietly and bring some money back, but now that the matter has come to this, he now knows very well that he can no longer keep a low profile. Siemens attacked him so blatantly because of the home appliance industry. Don't talk about him, the whole of London couldn't figure it out. It was as if Lu Feng was a thief who stole thousands of dollars from a family. As a result, special forces, armed reconnaissance planes were dispatched, and even nuclear bombs were aimed at him. How could it not be jaw-dropping? People who have followed Jiafeng internationally will naturally know what is going on, but most people are confused. Even Sean learned the inside story after asking around. In front of a quaint manor, the receptionist opened the door after reading the invitation, and the motorcade drove away. The car stopped directly at the entrance to the hall, and a team of concierges opened the door to receive the reception. Lu Feng stepped out and looked at the tall Roman columns in front of him as he headed inside. Many people had already arrived first and gathered together chatting. John was in charge of reception. When he saw Lu Feng come in, he walked towards Lu Feng with a smile on his face. He opened his arms and said with extra enthusiasm, Mr. Lu, it's really a blessing to have you here, and I feel happy from the bottom of my heart when I see you. Lu Feng hugged him. The last time he came to the banquet, he was not so exaggerated. These days, no matter what the elite nobles are, as long as you can help them make money, they will keep their posture very low. Since you are so happy, then hurry up about the plane. Lu Feng did not waste too much nonsense with him and asked, "Is Herman here?" "Not yet, it will probably take another hour. I just want to meet you tonight so that you two can get to know each other." John glanced around and whispered, "You can reveal the number to me. The semi-annual report in June can increase $1 billion profit." "June? It's only April now. Besides, the growth rate is high now, but no one knows how long this growth can last." Lu Feng could see John's greed. "Your semi-annual report looks good. My position within the group is stable, so I can give you more words. The British market is very mature. Recently, the German and French markets have begun to gain momentum." "I still know it." John smiled and said. "Regardless of the cost, the money just to pay tribute to Harry and Breeze can buy a private jet. 1 billion can't do it. I predict that the entire market will only make 1 billion profits, and I can't do it either." "Have you been busy with this?" Lu Feng said to him. "We still have to focus on the manufacturing industry. The core technology can be slowed down first, and then you don't have to worry about the things there, or you can leave the things here to professional managers. Direct selling has great potential." John and Lu Feng muttered for a long time. Now all major companies are studying direct selling. Some people even went to the United States to ask for advice on direct selling investment in Amway Company. John kept persuading, but Lu Feng knew that this road would not be long. "Okay," Lu Feng was annoyed and said in a deep voice, "Shut your mouth and stop talking." After saying that, he walked upstairs, leaving John standing there alone. Many people at the scene were staring at this. At the last dinner, everyone saw Lu Feng begging for help. Just now, Lu Feng had already scolded John in public. "They say things come in their own way, but things in London are changing too fast." In the living room, Lu Feng found a sofa and sat down, ordering a few drinks. Many people around him looked over, and intermittently someone came over to hand over their business cards to get acquainted. Compared to the last dinner, these white people seemed to have lost their previous arrogance, and the smiles on their faces were much more humble. Lu Feng's purpose tonight is very clear, which is to meet Herman, get to know him, and talk if he can, and not push him down. As for why Siemens did what he did, Lu Feng can figure it out with his toes. When the dinner officially started and everyone had arrived, a tall man in his 50s slowly walked into the lobby. When everyone saw the man, they all stepped forward to say hello and introduce themselves. As long as they could get acquainted with Siemens, it is now equivalent to an iron rice bowl. No matter what country it is, Vanity Fair is the same. Lu Feng sat on the second floor and looked downstairs drinking coffee without saying a word. Herman glanced around and found no important people. Under the leadership of John, he walked up to the second floor. On the stairs, Herman asked in a low voice, "Aren't Harry and Breeze here?" "No, they have been very busy recently. They had promised to see you, but they called me just now to say that they had something to do and they couldn't come," John said with a regretful look on his face. "I answered the phone on the front foot, and you came on the back foot." "Where's the secretary?" Herman looked a little unhappy, and his steps up the stairs seemed to become heavier. "No, but someone is here, so your trip is not in vain." John was about to tell Lu Feng, but Herman interrupted him. "President John, you promised me to introduce these two people. I also told you on the phone that this time the improvement of standards in the home appliance industry is not aimed at GFN Electronics, but to provide a higher standard throughout Europe. Home appliance standards, I don't want the fighting between some factions to affect this matter," Herman said to John with a serious face. "I know that Siemens is a leader in all walks of life and has formulated many industry standards. This time there is something really temporary. I'm really sorry, but now the matter between you and GFN is also in full swing. It just so happens that GFN, the person in charge, is here." "Sit down and talk," John said. Herman understood everything now. He stared at John for a while and said, "Do you think we are targeting the Schroeder Group?" No, I just think we can sit down and have a chat. Since it's business, we can talk. Some voices from the outside world are not pleasant to listen to. Sitting down can just dispel the misunderstanding. We all know each other. John looked at Herman, looked unhappy and said, "You still have this kind of ambition, right?" After John said these words, it would be inappropriate for Herman to turn around and walk away, so he walked upstairs in silence. In the reception room on the second floor, Herman sat down. A waiter walked over to Lu Feng's seat and whispered, "Mr. Lu, Mr. Herman is already here. Please come over." Lu Feng stood up and walked towards the living room. The waiter opened the door. Lu Feng walked in and looked at the 50-year-old white man on the single sofa. He smiled and said, "Are you Mr. Herman?" Herman stared at Lu Feng in disbelief. He guessed that the young man in front of him was Lu Feng, but deep down he was afraid to admit that this young man could stir up such a big storm. "Let me introduce to you, this is Mr. Lu Feng, the founder of GFeng Group." John introduced to Lu Feng, "Mr. Herman, CEO of Siemens Group." "Hello." Lu Feng stretched out his hand to shake it and sat on the single sofa opposite. The living room is quite simple. There are two single sofas in a group, with a small coffee table sandwiched between them. On it are an ashtray, some fruit, and a handful of fresh flowers. Herman is sitting opposite 2 or 3 meters away. John sat in the top position. Except for the 3 people, there was no one else. The scene was somewhat formal. "I know you are an Oriental, but I didn't expect you to be so young. In the past 10 years, you should be the youngest billionaire I have ever seen. The last one was Bill Gates." Herman revealed how much he felt about Lu Feng. "Appreciate it. I don't dare to compete with Bill Gates. I'm not as lucky as him. I wasn't born in the United States." Lu Feng lit a cigarette for himself and said, "Otherwise it wouldn't be so difficult." Latest website. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1045. Latest website. Herman laughed awkwardly when he heard this. Lu Feng just wanted to say that if he were from the United States, he would not dare to do these things to GFeng. Recently, a lot of things have indeed happened. There are rumors from the outside that Siemens' proposal is aimed at GFeng. I still hope Mr. Lu will not misunderstand this. Every once in a while, with the advancement of technology, we will take the initiative to improving industry standards is also for the sake of the healthy development of the industry." Herman pondered for a moment and said, "I also hope that Mr. Lu will not listen to some rumors from the outside." Lu Feng felt quite unhappy when he heard this. It seemed to say that a small company like GFeng was not worthy of letting Siemens take such a big step. It was purely because Lu Feng was overthinking it. "I'm sitting here today because I just want to chat. GFeng is a rising star and Siemens is a major international company. Maybe we can cooperate somewhere." John still wanted to help Lu Feng pull the strings. Cooperation, Herman couldn't help laughing. He leaned on the sofa and crossed his legs and said, "What kind of cooperation can we have? Electrical equipment cannot be sold directly. I have to admit that Mr. Lu is an excellent person. A marketing manager can sell cheap things at sky-high prices, and business cooperation is not just about marketing." John was very embarrassed when he heard this and said hurriedly, "GFeng still has many technological advantages, and in the core processor. Compared with Intel? Or Sony? Sharp? Or Nokia?" Herman mocked mercilessly, "We are Siemens, please remember this. I know that you are a big company, and I have always felt that there are many aspects of your company that we can learn from. However, this time the European home appliance industry standards are indeed very urgent, but it will not have much impact on us. I understand the process of passing your bill. Unless it is extremely urgent, otherwise it would be normal to argue for a year or two." Lu Feng took out a cigarette from his pocket, lit one, and continued, I also know that the international community is not tolerant towards GFN, and is even discriminatory. No, 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 we will never discriminate against anyone, but your foundation is indeed weak. Is there a company in China that manufactures core processors? Is there a market for it? Herman glanced at John and said, I think you should be more down to earth, first build a supporting enterprise and slowly upgrade it. You have been doing it for so long and invested so much money, but what results have you achieved? Lu Feng was just about to say that there were relevant technological breakthroughs, but he immediately swallowed his words. He stared at Herman and said, what you asked about is a commercial secret. I know very well which international companies are targeting us. As far as I know, are you busy making mobile phones now? The communications industry is a full-chain industrial chain. We have layouts in base station facilities, signal compilation, and terminal mobile phones. I know that you have a research and development center in Sweden that cooperates with Nokia. If you are interested, we can talk about this. Maybe there's some cooperation. What Herman values is not GFN, but Nokia. Of course there is no problem. Cooperation will definitely be good. I am just curious. If we cooperate, can you withdraw the proposal for industry standards? You also said that Siemens is a big company. How can a big company listen to others? Lu Feng understood that he needed a step up and a greater temptation of benefits, so he opened up and said, I heard from other places that some people on Wall Street need you to do this. I didn't believe it at the time, but I didn't expect that you would come out with something like this right away proposal. Is there such a thing? John then said, that shouldn't be the case. For a company as big as Siemens, I don't think anyone can lead the way. This must be a rumor. Don't listen to those baseless things. It's just like the rumors in London that we are targeting GFN. It's nothing. Herman was a little dissatisfied with Lu Feng's questioning. If the reason for sitting here is to talk about this, he was not interested in staying any longer, and said, I have already explained what needs to be explained. I came here today out of trust in the Schroders Group and to take care of the mood of small businesses. Have you said everything that needs to be said? John looked at Lu Feng. It was obvious that he was leaving if he couldn't come up with better terms. Siemens' proposal will have basically no impact on GFN in the short term. Just like what I just said, if you want to pass a proposal, this group of people can argue for several years, with various interest groups pulling back and forth. But just this kind of back and forth pulling and pulling was enough for those people to use this as an excuse to keep squeezing Lu Feng. During this period, I don't know how many congressmen called me, saying openly and secretly that if these people hadn't voted for you over there, no vote, I'm afraid this proposal will be passed immediately. After so much waste, I have to give some tea money. Just for this tea money, Lu Feng paid a small amount of £20 million. The key is that some financial departments found reasons to hold GFN's money out and refused to let it go out. The funds could not be converted into US dollars and returned to China. Lu Feng could do it now. All the work in vain. Today is about reconciliation. You have to reconcile even if you don't want to. I think it's all business with anyone. What's more, Siemens is still a European company, and GFN is also a European company. They may not be able to help you in other aspects. If you contact Nokia and reach some cooperation between the two parties, I still have this ability. Lu Feng looked at Herman and said, I have a good relationship with Nokia's Almi. Then what? Herman asked. Lu Feng was a little unhappy with his attitude, but this was definitely not the time to act impulsively, so he continued, maybe it can bring about unexpected results. Really? Then I wish you good luck. I have something else to do. Let's take the first step. If Mr. Lu can convince Nokia to cooperate with us in mobile phone technology, I believe our relationship will not be what it is today. Herman said. After speaking, he stood up and said to Lu Feng, if it could be done, it would have been done long ago. It is normal for lions and tigers to cooperate, but there must never be a sheep connecting the two. After speaking, Herman stood up and walked towards the door. He had endured enough to give Schroeder Group face, so he opened the door and left directly. Lu Feng sat there with a pale face. He had been looked down upon by many people in the past, but not recently. He took a puff of smoke and said, "No matter what age you are, you need to be strong to get around. Don't take it personally, I'll see him off." John stood up, patted Lu Feng's shoulder, comforted him, and walked out towards the door. As soon as John left, Lu Feng stood up and followed him out. He didn't want to wait any longer. Before leaving, he waved to John from a distance and got in the car. Seeing this, the other people at the banquet immediately understood that tonight's meeting was a thorough one. Talk fell apart. The entire London business community couldn't figure out why Siemens was targeting Jiafeng. If Jiafeng was jealous of Jiafeng's income, that little money would be a drop in the bucket for Siemens. Some people also said that Beko had a deep relationship with Siemens and asked Herman to give it to him. He takes it out. For a time, all kinds of comments and speculations were flying around. It was already past 9 o'clock in the evening when Lu Feng returned to the apartment. He was sitting on the sofa smoking a cigarette. There will be competition among large international companies, but they will also maintain a certain tacit understanding. After all, in some fields, where there is collision, there will be cooperation. No one wants to be too stiff. Lu Feng didn't know how much Wall Street paid, but he knew one thing. Apart from the big guy Nokia, there was probably no one else who could cooperate with Siemens. There is another plan, which is to keep the money in each country and reinvest it, directly build our /0026D centers, earn money locally and spend it locally without taking any money back. Just when Lu Feng thought of this, he faced a new problem. If the money was kept locally, could the leaders let go of this piece of fat? As long as the payment is slow and people randomly take names, all the money will be turned into fines. Going to find Ermai, Lu Feng muttered. When this possibility appeared in his mind, he felt a little unsure. At that time, in order to promote the cooperation between Nokia and Jiafeng's Ruxin laboratory, the contract was written down without leaving any words. Now Lu Feng, no matter how shameless he is, can't touch Nokia's sales channels. Fuzu, it's morning now. The folders that need to be processed today are neatly placed in Watanabe's office. The top one is a sample contract for technical exchange and study between several companies in Fuzu and Siemens. Both parties feel that the contract has almost been implemented. Each other sends teams to each other's /U0026D base for half a year to exchange some academic theories. The following is an explanation of the current situation of Jiafeng Electronics in Europe. Siemens's efforts this time are definitely a slap in the face. If all the money Jiafeng makes is consumed in Europe, there will be no what a stamina. Cutting off the source of funds, the Schroeder Group's more than $2 billion alone is not as powerful. The most important thing is that it affects the investment confidence of the Schroeder Group, and he will have to hesitate when making subsequent payments. After reading this, Watanabe looked overjoyed. To deal with such a small business, it can be said that all his efforts have been wasted, and now it is considered to be exhausted. Watanabe was beaming with joy at this moment. At first, he didn't take Jiafeng seriously at all. He just regarded him as a gadget for claiming credit. He really didn't expect that this gadget would survive for so long. If Jiafeng is gone, Watanabe will have to take credit for himself. Over the past year, his relationship with Goldman Sachs has become closer and closer, and the senior management is no longer unhappy with him. As long as he finds a reason, he can return to Wall Street. Watanabe thought about this, raised the corner of his mouth slightly, picked up the phone and called Jiafeng Group. The last straw had to be added by himself, so that he could show himself, and he was prepared to call Lu Feng every time after making the call. he wrote a report and sent it to Goldman Sachs senior management via email, making it appear that he was aware of Lu Feng's status at all times. Thinking of this, Watanabe pressed the phone number, called the group headquarters, asked for Lu Feng's number in Europe, and then called out. Lu Feng's room was slightly dark. A cigarette was half burned and the ash was bent. The phone suddenly rang. Lu Feng was startled. The cigarette broke instantly and fell to the ground, shattering to pieces. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1046. Latest website. Lu Feng looked at the phone and wondered, who would call him at this time? Could it be Herman? Lu Feng was muttering in his mind, so he picked up the phone and said, "I'm Lu Feng of Jiafeng Group, who is this?" "Hello, Mr. Lu, long time no see." The voice on the phone was very joking, and the accented English was not recognized by Lu Feng at first, but he was definitely from Fuzhou. The only Fuzhou person who could call him at this time was Shi Watanabe, whom he hadn't seen for a long time. "Who are you? Can't you even hear my voice? Now you are at the end of your rope. If you can't get money in Europe, do you think Schroeder Group will still support you? In front of these international large companies, you are fragile. It's like a layer of paper," Watanabe sarcastically said. "If the United States didn't pay attention to it, do you think you can still be successful in the international community? You called me just to talk rubbish." Lu Feng took a puff from his cigarette, put the cigarette butt in the ashtray, and said, "You are a well-known figure in the world. Why are you calling me to talk rubbish?" "Not entirely. After all, I have to be involved in this matter. When Jiafeng completely collapses, I will resign from Motorola and return to Goldman Sachs. Calling you is a necessary condition," Watanabe said. "Frankly, I understand. I just want to be a bitch. I'm just curious. How are you sure that I'm going to die?" Lu Feng asked casually. "It's really troublesome now, but you also know that I am always good at creating miracles. Siemens' influence in Europe cannot be estimated by you. Now many companies in our country have reached cooperation with Siemens to communicate in the technical field. Do you think you can leave? Even if you make money, don't worry, a fine will be paid, not even a dime left." Watanabe's words contained a sense of generosity towards those who were about to die. "I have to say that you are very smart, but you don't understand the current international society. The United States is only a little more concerned about Lambert. If the top management notices it and imposes sanctions, how can you still be so happy?" Watanabe Bianji's voice revealed a hint of understanding of the international community, and he said, "If I were to get serious with you, who would you be?" "That's right, I don't count in the first place. It seems that I have given benefits to Siemens. Let me just say that there is no grievance or grudge. Why does Siemens want to do this to me? You don't have to tell me how powerful the United States is. I am better than you. Clearly, it's just because you think I'm dead now that you're talking to me about this." Lu Feng lit another cigarette for himself as he spoke. Shi Watanabe, who was on the other end of the phone, heard the sound of lighting a cigarette and said in a very considerate manner, "Stop smoking. It's already night over there. Go to bed early. International is like a big family, divided into 3, 6, and 9. Wait, the children of long-term workers must also be long-term workers. You have to understand this truth." Lu Feng wasn't that angry when he heard this. The world is like this. When you don't get ahead, the whole world advises you to settle down and find your own position. When you get ahead, you get whatever you say. "Okay, I'll find my position and hang up. If you want to find some sense of presence with me, then call me more and let's talk more. Don't worry, I will call you. I hope that when you move around in the international community in the future, you will also find your own position and use honorifics when speaking," Watanabe said and hung up the phone. Lu Feng put down the phone after listening to the busy tone on the phone. He knew what bargaining chips the other party offered in this transaction. He persuaded Siemens to take action based on just a technical exchange. Lambert really didn't even bother to pay for it. The next day, GFeng could be said to have swept the UK. The number of agents officially exceeded 500,000, and the highest profit in a single day hit a sky-high price of 43.5 million. Compared with the previous speed, Lufeng was now deliberately we have compressed the expansion speed and kicked out some low-quality agents who did not repay loans after making money, in the name of letting brothers and sisters return to their lives. Even so, the development speed is still very fast, and it has almost become one of the most watched groups in society. Not only the United Kingdom, but also branches in Germany, France, Italy, and other branches have more than 200,000 agents. In the entire European market, the total number of GFeng's agents has officially exceeded 2 million. At the morning meeting, Manager Li looked at the folder in his hand and said to Lufeng, "Yesterday, Germany and France launched investigations into our branch, and Italy and Sweden fined us with a total price of 9 million US dollars, on the grounds of false propaganda and unfair competition. Our branches in various countries, local electrical appliance retailers, and home appliance manufacturers have also filed lawsuits against us. As of yesterday, we have had as many as 35 lawsuits in Europe. There have been 20 lawsuits, 20 of which are company-to-company lawsuits, 10 of which are individual lawsuits, and 5 of which are public prosecutions." Lufeng's face turned pale after hearing today's situation. Now there are fires everywhere. Siemens has made a bad start, and various countries are also eyeing this big piece of meat. People outside still think how much money we make. Some say our monthly profit is billions of dollars, and others say tens of billions. The jealous people don't know how much. I know how we got this money, but why we didn't have it, I'm afraid. I can't figure it out. Lufeng knew that it was time to cut things off, and said to Manager Li, "Inform all major branches to judge the local development space for themselves. If we can find a balance of interests, we will continue. If we can't find the break-even point, we will simply pull it down." Others also advised Lufeng that these are troubled times and promoting direct selling into the European system, forming standards, establishing trade unions, and creating industry associations are the roots of stable development. What you are talking about is too far away. The industry may still exist, but some people just want GFeng to die and don't think about it so much now. Lufeng asked Manager Li, "What does the local offshore capital department mean?" "Not yet, let me go. I have spent a lot of money recently, and I am a little relieved. However, people are hinting inside and outside that it still depends on what Siemens means. We are in a lawsuit. According to regulations, funds are not allowed to go out, let alone our one sum that's hundreds of millions of pounds." Manager Li looked embarrassed. Now Siemens is standing in the way. This company is not important. What is important is the subtle relationship between this company and its senior management. I understand, I will handle this matter. Also, let the agents repay the loans, reduce the loan rate for new agents, and control the expansion. The number of people cannot be increased. The more people there are, the tighter the superiors will keep a close eye on it. Lufeng said to him, "Keep the fruits of victory well. Only when you eat them is yours, do you understand?" "I understand. There is one more thing. Since the audit team of the headquarters group arrived, many problems have been found. Thousands of people were involved in the case. The biggest one is Li Hua, the deputy general manager of the German branch. He committed fraud and embezzled 1,300 yuan. 10,000 US dollars, and now the person is detained locally, and he will not pay back a penny." Of course Lufeng knew how many loopholes this company had in its management. Not to mention branches in other European countries, he didn't even know how many people in the company worked with agents to loan out loans. They were just out to make money, so he turned a blind eye. It passed in one eye. We came to the audit team from China because the people below were going too far. Not to mention others, Lu Feng had received a real name report. The manager Li in front of him had found more than 30 local ID cards to use for loans and illegally obtained loans. I had a loan of over £1 million and had a talk with him. I have restrained myself a lot recently. The money must be spit out. If not, spend some more on him. This is everyone's hard-earned money, and we can't lose a penny. Thinking that it will be over after going to jail? We must prevent this kind of thing from happening, Lu Feng said in a deep voice. During a morning meeting, a lot of internal issues were raised. The management model of this company is relatively simple. As it develops and grows, internal struggles have begun to become serious. In particular, some departments are relatively rich, and private competition is particularly serious. Local people in London, foreigners, formed a group and blamed each other. Lu Feng didn't want to hear their bickering at the morning meeting, so he said, "Please stop talking a few words. Everything is based on the interests of the company. If there is nothing else, let's adjourn the meeting." After speaking, Lu Feng stood up and walked outside, hearing several people behind him cursing at each other. All the money that should be spent has been spent, and all the people who should be found have been found. It is not that easy to make money on someone else's territory. The only way Lu Feng can think of now is Nokia. Siemens should relax and give away the money they earn first. Keep it in the local area. Soon there will be no more money left. Lu Feng still has a relatively good attitude towards the way things are done in these countries. Understand? After sitting in the office for a while, Lu Feng took a look at the time difference. It should be evening in China now, so he picked up the phone and called Liukin. The call was transferred several times before Liukin picked up the phone and said, "Hello, Mr. Lu. How are you doing lately?" Lu Feng asked. "It's very good. It's developing smoothly. Many projects have made progress, especially in mobile communications. I estimate that mobile phones will be available in the middle of next year." Liukin reported some professional terms and said happily, "What's the matter with you? As long as it goes well, please help me find the contact information of Nokia Almi," Lu Feng said. You don't have one?" Liukin couldn't believe it. How could he not have Almi's contact information, and now he asked for it from himself? Was he going to have a second spring? "Mr. Lu, I heard that the situation in Europe is quite urgent right now. If you get angry in a hurry, it doesn't have to be someone, right?" Liukin's voice was filled with embarrassment. "What nonsense are you talking about? She is such a young person. I have something serious to do with her. Besides, I am not familiar with her. The previous matters were all for the company and were all work-related," Lu Feng explained. "I know, I understand. I'll call them and ask," Liukin said hurriedly. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1047. Latest website. Half an hour later, Liukin got a call back. Someone from the Nokia headquarters told him that Almi was now at the London branch. She had just been dispatched a few days ago and told Lu Feng her current phone number. After hanging up the phone, Lu Feng sat there and muttered, "She is in London." Lu Feng was not in a hurry to call Almi. This time, he had something to ask for. With Almi's character, he would never be willing to accept the grievances he had suffered before. He still had to figure this out. Lu Feng first called Sean and asked him to inquire about Nokia's situation here. "Nokia? There is no need to investigate this matter." Sean on the other end of the phone looked at his translator and said, "Tell him that the competition between Nokia and Ericsson in the European market is very fierce. Everyone in the industry knows that in the British market this year the fight is even more intense. Now Nokia is at an overall disadvantage, and the headquarters does not want to invest too much money, so the purpose of transferring Almi here this time is to let her replicate the miracle in China. Copy? Without me, what would she copy? Is the mobile phone industry very hot in Europe now? Lu Feng asked. Now is a blowout period for mobile phones. Last year, the market growth rate was around 20%. It is expected to be no lower this year. The prices of several mobile phone manufacturers are getting lower and lower. In the past, mobile phones were only for business needs, but now they are trending towards young people. The direction of people has gone. European countries are encouraging manufacturers to produce, and the market is very good, so Nokia is anxious. Sean said slowly, these things are public to the mobile phone industry. Lu Feng inquired for a long time and finally got some information. According to what he said, Almi's situation should be very difficult now. After all, there is no Jiao Feng in London who is willing to cooperate with her. Lu Feng hung up the phone and thought for a while. There was no need to be weak when calling now. She wanted to do something for herself, and Siemens also hoped to achieve mass production in the mobile phone industry as soon as possible to compete for the market. But Lu Feng knew one thing, that is, Siemens mobile phones were not launched until 2000, and their sales were mediocre, and they disappeared within a few years. If Lu Feng goes to talk to both parties with conditions, both parties will definitely skip him and contact each other alone. This is the sore point of the problem and must be solved. If it cannot be solved, he cannot call Almi. Lu Feng scratched his head worriedly and lit a cigarette. He had been thinking about it all morning but didn't have any good ideas. While eating, he suddenly remembered some scandals between himself and Almi. Maybe this matter could be used to make some articles. At around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Lu Feng did not call Almi, but called Herman directly. The assistant answered the phone and helped make an appointment. When it was time for the appointment, Lu Feng called. The voice on the other end of the phone was quite arrogant and said, "Sorry, all future appointments have been cancelled. The president has a meeting today. Please make another appointment another day." Then when can I make an appointment? Lu Feng asked. I can't guarantee this. I suggest you call to make an appointment at 8 a.m. every working day. Do you have anything else to do? The voice on the other end of the phone sounded businesslike, which was quite unpleasant. There is none left. Do. The phone was hung up without hesitation, as if Siemens was an unreachable mountain in front of Lu Feng. What's awesome? Lu Feng cursed. Herman couldn't be contacted, so Lu Feng had no choice but to contact Almi first. He picked up the call shortly after the call was made. Almi's slightly deep voice came from the phone. Who is this? It's me, Lu Feng from Jiafeng Group, Lu Feng said towards the phone. Are you in London now? Why didn't you make a call when you came? Almi was slightly surprised to hear that it was Lu Feng, and then some memories were recalled. A flash of displeasure flashed across his face and he said, I'm in London, are you there too? Yes, it seems you don't pay that much attention to me. Jiafeng's business has now expanded to Europe and has been here for half a year, Lu Feng said with a smile. Almi became interested and asked hurriedly, so, have your sales channels been laid out? We are using a different sales model here, without channels. Almi immediately lost interest when she heard this. She was an ant in the hot pot now. She didn't care what Lu Feng was doing here. She only had one thing on her mind, and that was how to get sales channels at a low price and sell more products to her. With the products in front of consumers, even activities are much easier to do. I still have something to do here. I've been busy recently. I'll treat you to dinner when I have time. Almi said a few polite words and was about to hang up the phone. No, although we haven't established any sales channels, we still know a lot of companies here. We have interactions with companies such as Siemens, Carrefour, and Walmart. Do you want to open up sales channels here? Lu Feng said. It looks like these are all my buddies. You've only been here half a year and you've already interacted with so many companies. Almi sounded a little unconvinced. It was not that difficult to cooperate with these large companies. otherwise Nokia would have directly negotiated with them. Is it so difficult? Besides, I know a lot of people on Wall Street. I often attend dinner parties here. Not to mention some companies, even high-level people are familiar with me. Yesterday I attended a high-end banquet. Harry and Breeze, everyone is here, including the president of Siemens. We have had some friction in the European market recently. He was quite embarrassed when he saw me, so he sat down and chatted for a while and apologized to me, Lu Feng said casually. As if everything is a piece of cake. Apologize to you, Almi frowned slightly. Why did he become more and more mysterious as he listened? Yes, let me tell you, in the past 6 months, how much do you think I have spent on it? Lu Feng said to the phone. You don't even dare to think about it. Don't look at me with the same eyes as before. Now Jiafeng, it is an international company, and after adopting the new model here, it is making money very quickly. How much? Although Elmi felt that Lu Feng was bragging, in her mind, Lu Feng did have some ability. He was a powerful being in China, not to mention he was still so young. Just in the past few months, I invested £100 million. All this money has been put into that fund. Once the 4-year period is up, I will be stable in the UK. Of course, I am alone in this kind of thing, it definitely can't be done. The Schroders Group is still behind the scenes. They are my old employer. Think about it, what is the status of the Schroders Group in the UK? Lu Feng's words were full of confidence, and it was quite a bit like roadside sex. After drinking too much, he blew the momentum. Almi began to believe it. After all, the Schroeder Group had too much power here, and capital would privately fund many faction-type funds. She had heard a lot about this kind of thing. I always thought you were doing well in China, but I didn't expect you to be so capable here. We haven't seen each other for a long time. Let's go out to have a meal in the evening and catch up on old times. Ermai looked at Lu Feng. When it comes to hope, no matter whether it can be achieved or not, give it a try first, and you won't suffer any loss. Tonight? I don't have time. Princess Diana has a fashion dinner that I have to attend. Let's see if I'm free tomorrow. Okay, it depends on your time. I just came here and don't know much about the company. I'm sorting out the corporate framework these days and I'm quite busy. Almi told Lu Feng everything frankly. He tentatively said, I happen to have nothing to do tonight. I am quite familiar with dinner parties where we discuss fashion. This really doesn't work. I only invited myself. For another day, let's do this for now. Lu Feng hung up the phone after saying a few polite words. Ermai took a deep breath as he listened to the busy tone on the other end of the phone, thinking to himself how long it had just been. Lu Feng used to pursue cooperation with him, and in order to get endorsements for the company's technology, he used all kinds of hype with him. Now it's like it was like I was begging him. Almi felt that he was developing very quickly. To be the vice president of marketing of Nokia at this age was already astonishing. However, compared with Lu Feng, he seemed to be nothing. Lu Feng looked at the phone in front of him and let out a long sigh of relief. No matter what else, at least he had temporarily frightened Almi. After getting the conditions from her, he could talk to Herman. More and more people are paying attention to Jiafeng from the outside world. The recent outbreak has made many people jealous. Among them, there are some people who are good at taking advantage of loopholes. They bought Jiafeng's products and then went to court to sue them for unqualified product quality. By claiming compensation, terminal retailers led by Walmart are still wrangling in court. Some say Jiafeng has made billions, while others say it has made tens of billions. All of a sudden, all kinds of charitable organizations and environmental organizations have come to visit, hoping that Lu Feng be generous. How much money Jiafeng made, it is estimated that only Lu Feng and a few core people knew. If he didn't donate to those organizations, those people would start to abuse him. For a while, Jiafeng's reputation was bad on the street, but Lu Feng didn't care. With the current development speed, no matter how slow it develops, there will be enough leaks gathered in a few months, and now he just wants to take the money away. There are good and bad news in the market. The good thing is that when Almi heard about this from the market, he was frightened. Tens of billions of profits, even if he prints money, he cannot do it so fast. If there is something behind it, without the support of big forces, it would not be the foreigner Lu Feng's turn to earn this money. Almi now completely believed in Lu Feng. Not to mention attending the princess's good night, even if Lu Feng said he had an affair with the princess, she thought it might be true. Latest website. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1048. Latest website. Lu Feng looked at the folder in front of him and flipped through it for a long time without thinking about it. The company's affairs were not important at all now. How to handle top-level relationships was the most important. Liukin has mentioned the registration of global technology patents for our /U0026D companies several times, but Lu Feng has always suppressed this matter. If he does not register it, he is afraid that insiders will leak the secret. After it is announced to the outside world, he will suffer a double blow from the United States and Fuzhou. Don't look at it. Lambert is just paying attention now. If Jiafeng really does something famous, things will be completely different. Not to mention that the money earned in Europe may not be taken away, and people may not be able to go back. Not to mention the transfer of justice to the United States. After being detained in Europe for a few years, Jiafeng would be completely destroyed. Lu Feng had to be wary of these things. Compared to many years later, the United States now has less scruples in doing things. Herman couldn't be contacted, so Lu Feng called John first. John also said that it was difficult to do. Last time, he used Harry and Breeze as the excuse to call out. Lu Feng and John obviously looked down upon them. After hanging up the phone, Lu Feng called Sean again, but Sean didn't do anything. As the largest comprehensive group in Europe, Siemens is too huge. It's as big as Nokia before it was dismantled, and electrical-related ones are even bigger. To be alone in the world, not to mention some companies, many small countries need to rely on others. Then what should I do now? Should I call him every day to make an appointment? Lu Feng said, a little unhappy. I was given such a deal, and there was no communication to solve it. I just want to unite Wall Street to see my joke. Fortunately, it is also a European company. As a company, how can we face the outside world? Mr. Lu, you are not a 3-year-old child. Capital does not talk about countries. Let me tell you, Siemens had some grievances with the Schroeder Group before. The Second World War just ended, so the face is not that big. Xiao En said helplessly. You are facing this situation now, even the gods can't save you. No hope. Lu Feng lit a cigarette. He didn't believe this. Sean helped him analyze the current situation. A behemoth like Siemens was standing in front of him. Some of the industry standard initiatives it proposed would be carefully considered by European countries. Jiafeng was making money now, and it stands to reason that it had spent so much money on it. Isn't it a piece of cake to transfer some assets overseas? Why are you stuck and not allowed to leave now? I still want to eat everything. You have to understand that there is no lower limit for businessmen and no bottom line for entrepreneurs. People like Harry and Breeze are inhumane, Sean simply said it. Jiafeng is so fat that some big bosses are jealous and won't let him go until he vomits up. What's more, there are a lot of lawsuits now and Siemens is standing in the way. What a good excuse. Ha ha ha, Lu Feng sneered a few times. He really had no one to support him and was being bullied. Lu Feng suddenly thought of something and said, You said I am a piece of fat. If a fatter piece of meat appears, will they not target me like this? Fatter than you, Sean was stunned for a moment. There must be no one fatter than him in Europe. Even if there is, the industry is formal and will not be in a gray area. Right. Which company? I won't tell you this yet, that's it, you can get busy first. After Lu Feng said that, he hung up the phone and sat there thinking about it. According to Sean's analysis, a bigger fish must appear now for these people to let him go. If he deliberately looks for it, this fish will not be easy to find. He can only say that his fate is good. Elmi is here, no, it's just a big fish delivered to your door. Lu Feng's previous idea was to find a way to bring the two parties together, gain some face in the middle, let Siemens relax, and transfer the money back to China first. But now he doesn't think so anymore. If he wants to have fun, then let's have fun. If you play big, if you play small, both parties will feel that they are at a loss. Doesn't Nokia want sales channels? Lu Feng drew a pie for her and shared all Siemens global sales channels with Nokia. Doesn't Siemens want technology and brands in the communications industry? Then he would help it acquire Nokia. As long as he had to balance the pie between both sides in a short period of time, and nothing else mattered. As for what would happen after Lu Feng left, he couldn't control that much. After thinking about this, Lu Feng's thinking basically became smoother. He was quite experienced in being a middleman and drawing a pie between the two parties. Lu Feng stood up and left the office, went directly to Manager Li's office, opened the door and walked in. Manager Li was stunned when he saw Lu Feng walking in. He quickly stood up and asked, "Mr. Lu, is something wrong?" "I have something to tell you. I will contact a few media in a moment and announce some news to the outside world. Let's say that our monthly profit exceeds £5 billion. We are expected to become the most profitable company in the UK by the end of the year. We will expand our business within 3 years. Going to the world is just for bragging," Lu Feng said to Manager Li. "Remember, you have to learn to be arrogant when interviewing face to face. Apart from this matter, there have been a lot of dinner parties recently. Pick one for me that has social attention. I'll go to the higher dinner party." Manager Li was dumbfounded after hearing these two things. Lu Feng had always kept a low profile and talked about becoming a giant in the deep sea in various meetings before. Why did he become so high profile now? "Didn't you hear that?" Lu Feng asked when he saw that he didn't respond. "I heard that, Mr. Lu. Didn't you say before that you should try not to be too high profile?" "We are not suitable for being high profile," Manager Li wondered. "That was before, but it's different now. When you make money, you have to let the whole world know about it. You have to pretend, just follow the instructions. At the same time, let the major lecturers start to brag about me and give it to our agents. Work hard." After Lu Feng ordered, he turned around and went out. Lu Feng didn't want to stay when he returned to the office, so he simply went back to his room to sleep. After the news broke out in the afternoon, it instantly detonated the entire London business community. The profit of tens of billions of pounds was simply explosive. There is no other company with this level of income in the whole of Europe. Jia Feng's single-day profit has been rumored among the people. Various speculations of hundreds of millions are now announced, and many people do not believe it. All kinds of people called, some questioned the data, others wanted to discuss cooperation, and all kinds of evil people came. When Manager Li was interviewed by reporters, his words were full of arrogance. He not only belittled the previous Beko, but also made comments about large European companies, which made the reporters frown. The news spread like wildfire, and even Almi, who had not yet integrated into the London business community, heard some rumors and asked people to ask around to find out whether the matter was true or false. No one can explain Jia Feng's affairs clearly, saying that it is not profitable. There are Jia Feng agents everywhere in the neighborhood. Those agents are like bees buzzing in their ears. The most common thing they say is just make friends. In the past month, many people have stayed away from the words make friends when they heard them. GFNG's profits and costs have always been a mystery. Some people have dismantled GFNG's products and estimated a profit rate of 180%, while others estimated a profit of 400%. No one could guess whether it was true or false. This made Almi unable to tell for a while whether Lufeng had gotten ahead or was just bluffing. What's more, Almi still knew a little about Lufeng. Sometimes I can only believe 3 or 5 out of 10 words spoken by this person. The news spread quickly, and he had already gone to Wall Street in the evening. It was now 9 o'clock in the evening in the United States. Lambert had just finished dancing at the dinner and seemed to be in a good mood. Today's dinner was attended by big names in the investment community. Soros, Buffett, Bill Gates, and everyone else are basically there. Before I could take a breath after sitting down, the assistant walked up quietly and whispered, "There is news, not urgent, related to GFN Group." Explain. A few hours ago, GFN Group's British branch announced that its net profit so far has reached tens of billions of pounds, the assistant whispered. What? Lambert looked sideways at the assistant in surprise, with a look on his face that couldn't help but laugh, and asked, "How much?" 10 billion pounds. Oh, I bought it? Phew, ha ha ha, Lambert couldn't help but laugh, and briefly explain the matter, which made several people across from him laugh. This is such a good joke. I thought he had no choice but to start talking nonsense, Lambert said with a smile. Are you still paying attention to this company? I can see that you really like it, Soros couldn't help but said. It's impossible not to pay attention to this company. Mr. Liu is an interesting boss. No one else cares about it. I have to keep an eye on it. Sometimes I'm afraid that if I don't pay attention, this company will behave in an unreasonable way. Speed rises. Lambert briefly told what Lufeng had done in Europe recently. Is this kind of business model illegal? Said an investor opposite. It's not illegal, but it's definitely not a clean method, so he feels very uncomfortable now. He should have made a lot of money, but he can't take it away. Lambert's smile was a bit mocking, and he paused for a moment and said seriously, but when it comes to making money in a single round, he is definitely the most powerful person I have ever met. This evaluation was really high. Some people who didn't know Lufeng were surprised and curious about where this young man came from and how powerful he was. It's just to make some money. Didn't he invest a lot of money in communications and integrated circuits? There is no news at all now. With the temper of the Schroeder Group, I'm afraid there will be no follow-up. Soros obviously has no follow-up to the Schroeder Group. He understood very well and said, those people are just a group of tigers with false teeth. They look very scary, but in fact they dare not move. The audience burst into laughter as soon as these words came out. In their eyes, Europe's financial confrontation is indeed like this. They want to confront each other, but they dare not really break out and make some small moves behind their backs. As soon as they leave the financial level, the big players above will. As soon as the guy talked about it at an international conference, he was immediately so scared that he didn't dare to do anything. This is defense. Defense, Soros said jokingly. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1049. Latest website. The atmosphere at the scene was very good. No one took it to heart and just laughed and passed it by. The next day in London, GFNG's interview was officially reported and shocked the whole of Europe. Because the news was so eye-catching, many media reprinted it one after another, and the headlines became more and more outrageous. The morning paper still made tens of billions, and the afternoon paper published the title has become the youngest richest man in the world emerges. All the agents of GFN were in high spirits. They were holding newspapers and talking to people around them, trying to persuade people around them to join GFN with them, or else they were persuading others to buy GFN's products. They were already the richest men in the world. Can I cheat you of those 3 melons and 2 dates? The news was getting hot. A planner announced that Jiafeng's boss would attend the angel banquet tonight, and public opinion was drawn to the angel banquet. This dinner party has only been held in recent years. It mainly hosts all kinds of beauties and celebrities. It is a bit like the heaven and earth in China. Rich people plus beauties from various beauty pageants. Many upper-class people frequently participate. But only in the upper circles. Less than a few hours after Angel's banquet was exposed, the man who claimed to be the event planner came out to apologize and told the media that he was lying. The messy news was like a pot of news. Everyone was watching it very lively, but Lu Feng had no intention to read it. During lunch, he looked at Manager Li and asked, "Angel's banquet? Why doesn't it sound high-end?" From a business point of view, it is indeed not high-end, but in terms of entertainment and the number of participants, it is definitely high-end. Last year, I heard that more than 500 CEOs participated, and there were more than 1,000 beauties alone. The scene was very grand. It's a big circle, Manager Li said to Lu Feng. If you sign up, you'll have to get a capital verification, and the entry threshold is 100 million in assets. So you found such a big scene for me, okay. We can go wherever we go. Will there be reporters at the scene? Lu Feng asked. No, the security work for this kind of dinner is quite good, Manager Li assured. What are you going to do then? Lu Feng put down his chopsticks and said, find me a few reporters to take some photos of me and promote it. The agents will strengthen publicity, and loans will continue to be tightened. We can't let the banks find them. The excuse is given to us, you know. Okay, I know. Lu Feng returned to the office after dinner. Now he has no work. The company's development model has taken shape and the management can fully cope with it. After looking at the time, Lu Feng picked up the phone and called Almi at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. After a few rings, he picked up. The voice on the other end sounded a bit tired. Who? It's me, Lu Feng said towards the phone. Yesterday's dinner was very good. Didn't you want to attend? There happens to be a good one today. Let's go together and meet some people. I heard that you are going to attend some angel's banquet. Congratulations first. You have made a lot of money in Europe. Almi's voice was full of politeness. Compared with yesterday, the unfamiliarity of not seeing each other for a long time has long disappeared. The smoke disappeared. It's just a small amount of money. You don't know me well. I always take money very lightly, and I take love more seriously than anyone else. We must have had a friendship. In fact, I have always had a feeling for you in my heart. It's an indescribable feeling. Lu Feng smacked his mouth, let out a tut, and sighed. Sometimes I really want to make it up to you, but I feel very sorry for you. A smile appeared on Almi's face when he heard this. As long as he still misses his old relationship, some things will be much easier to handle. When he was in China, Lu Feng made her become a group executive. If it can be done here, under my father's operation, I basically sit back and relax. Alas. Ermi sighed appropriately and said, there is nothing I can do to apologize for. Although the interval is not long, I have grown a lot during this time. We were both too young at that time. Younger? Yes, once a person passes 25 or 6, every year will be different. How about going to the dinner party tonight? If you don't go, I won't bother to attend, Lu Feng asked her. Go, it doesn't matter to the others, I mainly want to see you. There was a hint of ambiguity in Almi's words. The voices between the two of them on the phone gradually became warmer, and it seemed like they were back in the past in a second, bringing back many memories. The phone call lasted a full hour, and they were chatting on the phone about what everyone was busy with during the separation. After making an appointment to pick her up at 6 o'clock in the evening, Lu Feng hung up the phone, leaned on his chair, lit a cigarette, took a puff and said to himself, I'll use you to cross the bridge, so you shouldn't have any complaints, right? It's not because of me that I can get to where I am today. Lu Feng didn't care about the disturbances from the outside world. The motorcade downstairs was already waiting. Surrounded by bodyguards, he walked out of the company gate and got into the car. The motorcade drove straight away. Several reporters not far away were clicking aside. He patted her for a moment, then drove to follow. At 6 o'clock in the evening, Almi walked downstairs dressed exquisitely. She was wearing a white close-fitting dress that outlined her figure very charmingly. It had been a long time since we last saw her, and compared to before, the youthful feeling on her body had completely faded. The feminine charm is highlighted, with a high nose bridge and deep eyes like a proud princess. Almi stepped forward and looked at Lu Feng, with bright and moving eyes, and said, Long time no see, you are getting more and more handsome. You are getting more and more beautiful. Get in the car and let's chat on the way, Lu Feng invited. Several reporters squatting on the lawn in the distance took another photo. After the photo was finished, they asked each other that this was enough material and did not continue to follow. Lu Feng and Ermai got in the car and headed towards their destination. At this moment, most of the heat in the air had faded away. The evening breeze was particularly pleasant when the windows were lowered. Lu Feng lit a cigarette and turned his head to look at her. He said, It's been so long since we last met. Are you in love? No, I know such an outstanding person like you, and I really have no interest in other people. Almi smiled with a peach blossom on her face. The wind blew her hair away, and the sunset covered her cheeks, making her look quite charming. Pure love. The two paved the way for each other, and Almi was the first to speak. Being transferred here by the headquarters is also temporary. Since you helped me in China, the headquarters feels that I am quite capable. Now we are very passive in the British market. The competition with Ericsson is stronger in mobile phones. Almi was a little worried when he talked about these things, but he showed his true feelings. He sighed softly and continued, When I was putting on makeup just now, I was even thinking that you are really the most important man in my life. No, don't be too anxious about this. Jiafeng doesn't have any sales channels here, but I have other ways. Lu Feng took a puff of smoke and said, We are also old friends. Recently, you cooperate with me in publicity propaganda, I'll find a way for you. Almi didn't expect Lu Feng to be so frank. She thought she would have to pay something, but she was already prepared. Really, Almi said in surprise, Thank you for that. I'm sorry for bothering you so many times. It's hard to be a beauty, ha ha ha, Lu Feng said with a smile. The industrial structure here is different from that in China. What I do is direct sales, and I need some people to cooperate with the publicity. A beauty like you is the most suitable. As for giving, you are looking for a way out, and I hope you will completely listen to me, because this time I am looking for Siemens for you. Siemens? Almi stared at Lu Feng with wide eyes. Isn't this nonsense? Siemens sales channels are selling Nokia products? Can you persuade Siemens? I read on the news that Siemens is still targeting you. Almi had doubts in his heart and secretly raised his guard. After all, sometimes Lu Feng's words could not be fully believed. The main reason was that this matter was too ridiculous. That's what the outside world said. There is indeed some friction between me and Siemens, but we are also cooperating amid friction. The things here are more complicated. There are matters involving the Schroeder Group and local politicians. Of course, if we cooperate directly with Siemens, it is impossible. We still have to use some means, Lu Feng said to her, just listen to me. Almi always felt that this matter was not very reliable, but now she had nothing to do. A straw was better than nothing. While we were chatting, the car had arrived at the gate of the manor. The trees inside were all decorated with lights. They looked brightly lit. I didn't know they thought it was Christmas. Following the guidance car in front of them, they arrived at the parking lot. A white butler wearing a mask was responsible for receiving Lu Feng and the two. When he saw Lu Feng with his female companion, he was also stunned and asked, "Mr. Lu, this is your wife?" "No, he's my friend." Lu Feng looked at him and asked, "Why are you still wearing a mask? This angel's banquet is masked." "Of course, you don't have to be masked if you don't like it. You can also role play. Please change your clothes here. There is a private area in front. Don't worry, tonight is absolutely confidential." The butler had a smile on his face that you knew. Almi was dumbfounded on the spot. She didn't expect to come to this kind of dinner. No wonder she asked her identity just now. She glanced at Lu Feng. If there were no important people, it would be better for her not to attend. "We are serious people. I didn't expect your dinner party to be like this." Lu Feng smiled awkwardly. He thought it was just eating and drinking, and then a group of people would mess around after the event. He didn't expect it to be this kind of fun, and he was already secretly thinking, "I'm scolding Manager Lee." "Don't worry, we are also having a serious dinner. If you don't like to change your clothes, you can go in now." "You come with me," the butler said and walked forward. Lu Feng looked at Almi and said, "This event is good, it doesn't seem to be very private." "Would you like to go take a look?" Almi asked slightly curiously. "I'm curious too. Let's go in and take a look before leaving." "You're here anyway." Lu Feng put his arm around Almi's waist and said, "Follow me closely. Nothing will happen." Latest website.